And we are here live with our good friend Ben Blankenship and our good friend Rick Motion. I said it right, yeah?
You
Oh,
did.
I got
Perfect.
scared
Perfect.
right there. I got scared.
Nobody ever gets that name right. Nobody. So
So we're in good hands. We're in good hands with our great friends. I feel like I'm a smaller guy. Maybe I gotta do
Turn
something.
your screen down a little bit.
I did. I tried. I gotta maybe pick up my chair.
Doesn't it like tilt?
It went to the lowest position. So here we go. Okay, there we go.
I started saying we know how to manipulate to make us look bigger than we are.
Yeah, it's like some sort of judo going on here. I'm just kidding, guys. Anyway, listen, it's great to have everybody back in our Ishook Comics podcast. A few announcements. We're going to definitely make Ishook Comics a separate channel within our Ishook Cast YouTube channels, and hopefully Ben can pick it up with me and without me at the same time. And that's the thing. We want to make sure that our Ishook Comics and all our comic friends really grow with us and we can grow with them. It's so important that we have things happening in this industry because I believe this industry is the industry that makes real content alive. You know, that's the way I look at things in the comic industry, the book industry. That for me is the most important factor point. So without further ado, let's hear what's going on with our great friends. First, I haven't spoken to Ben for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's very rare. I used to call him every day. Ben, what's going on? Ben, what's going on? Ben, what's going on with you? How are you doing? Where are you going through? And what's up, bro? What's going on?
I'm going to say this, and before you get on to me, I'm not going to give any spoilers, all right? So I went ahead, and I saw a movie that isn't even out yet, but it's coming out this weekend. It is The Life of Chuck. It's a Stephen King movie.
Oh, and, I know about that one.
Half the people were like, I didn't even understand that. I'll say here that it has a lot of dancing in it. If you like that, that's in it. It has like an amazing stories kind of feel. It starts with scene 3 or act 3, then act 2, then act 1. And by the end of the movie, you should understand everything that's going on. Just pay attention and you'll get it. But it's kind of whimsical. So I enjoyed it, but you have to think about it almost like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Well, now I have a question. You're leaving out the best part of that story. If you're not going to give us spoilers, I want to know how you saw it early.
So,
that's a good point.
Well, first off, we have a movie club thing at Cinemark. I love the Cinemark Theater in Oak Ridge, Tinseltown. That's like our jam. I always sit in the back too, and I'll hover towards one end or the other. Reclining seats, heated, all that. So they've got a thing called Secret Movie on Mondays at 7 p.m. You don't know what it's going to be. I said to Victoria, I wanted to go to that to see what was going on, what it was about, and that happened to be what they showed this last Monday. So we got to watch that, and it's coming out this weekend for everybody else. But you don't know what you're walking into. It could be whatever. They have like an R rating on it, just so you're covered. That way, it could be anything. And they're like, we've covered our bases. We've said it's probably rated R, but you know, if it was PG, you're still fine.
Just so you know, I thought this story was going to go somewhere like if you saw the Starsky and Hutch movie, they were talking to Snoop Dogg at one of the scenes, and they walk up and said, "Where'd you get that Coupe de Ville? It doesn't come out till next year." He says, "I know some people that know some people that know how to steal some stuff." I thought that's where we were about to go.
Yeah,
that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, awesome. That's how's your new place? Your new thing going?
It's very nice. All kinds of good stuff. Hey, I'm going to be down at Syndicate Comics in Marietta, Georgia, doing a signing and meet and greet this Saturday. And I actually met with Rick and Brad at Nirvana Comics with a lot of local creators, so we can collectively work together and, you know, world domination, that kind of thing. But comics and creators helping other creators, they do a great job.
Love it.
Been doing it for a while. Got some awesome books out. They had a signing meet and greet with, say his name, Les
Garner.
Yes, Les Garner. That guy can paint, Benny. He has some covers. Yeah. They're hand painted. It's got like a photorealistic thing. Oh, he's got one.
Wow.
I mean, that looks sharp. He does
very sharp.
He's up in Kentucky.
If you look at the cursive detail, look at that. Wow. See, I always had an issue with the gloss glare. You know, I never liked the gloss glare, but I like the matte always. I know a lot of people like the what's called the lamel that they put on. I don't know if it's laminated per se. It's like that film that they put, right? What is
I
that
went
called?
glossy on that one on purpose because I wanted it really shiny because that's our tour book.
Oh,
And
okay. That's a
for some
different thing.
reason, I
Yeah.
feel like I want people to, even if they're at the end of the hall with the shining lights on the top, I want them to see almost like this religious connotation from a distance, like, oh, kind of.
Yeah. It's like the diamond with the glare, right? With a sparkle and
Exactly.
the diamond. Yeah, that's fine. If it's for the show thing, I get it. But like for me, like in general, I feel sometimes when I look at images that are matte, they're so much better. I mean, not to do, not it's all preference, right? I'm not judging anyone. That's not my goal. My job is not to judge.
Benny, chromium is money. Even that's shiny. It's like foil.
Chrome is cool, by the way. When you do the
That's
film,
just
I
how it
like
is.
the filming on it, but the filming costs a lot of money. It's like extra dollars for no reason. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Mr. Motion, teach us, bask us with your knowledge of what we need to know and what we need to do as amateur comic, I guess inductees. Yeah.
Can you be specific with what you want to know? Because boy, I
Okay.
could talk for about 6 hours and really make you sleep.
So let's go specific. I'm sorry. I thought maybe I could have said, let's say fundraising or exhibiting or getting your product out there. I think that's like the hardest part, right? I don't think the drawing and the idea is the hardest per se, more than the actual sales aspect of it. Like, how do you
Yeah,
what?
it's getting the right people involved and actually having a passion. And I know the man in the middle there can agree with this very strongly, but really finding the right way you want to do this and how you want to do it becomes critically important. The marketing, yeah, I mean, that's huge because you can have a great idea, but if you don't get it out to the rest of the world and make them kind of like it for some reason, nobody cares. Or not that they don't care, nobody knows. But so we've been doing this really for about 30 years. We started about 30 years ago. We published several books. It was back in the heyday of the independence of the 90s. Everybody loved embracing the independence, and it was great. We've come back, and it's funny. I just got a message via my Kickstarter, somebody saying, hey, my Kickstarter went up the same day as yours. I've only gotten one backer. What are you guys doing different? I think it's just different things with different people at different times. You got to make friendships. Hey, you got to talk to different people. You got to have that passion. You got to keep talking your story. You can't just sit in a corner, get something pulled together with some good artists, some good writers, some good letters, and then hope that because you built it, they come. It's just not going to happen.
So what do you think? Maybe the reality is you need the social media plus the actual word of mouth going to these shows, right? I mean, I think that's.
I think that's fair. Social media you've got to have, but I was on a podcast. It's funny. So I watch when I'm on podcasts and stuff like that. I was on a podcast the other night that was watched by 21,000 people.
Okay.
I got 0 hits from that. I was on a podcast literally 5 days before that, and they had like the smallest audience in the world. They only had like 10, 12 people. I swear 10 out of those 12 people wound up signing up for the Kickstarter, or actually at least sent me messages via my website and said, hey, I really like, they took time. If you get somebody to take time to send you a message, I actually don't care if I got to sell out or not. We all would like to break even and make some money out of it. But if you get somebody at least take time and says, hey, I heard it, I caught it on this, it was really interesting. That's a big deal for me. So I think the social media piece is a part of it. The conventions, he was talking about a second ago. I think conventions and talking to people, that was the whole point of this book that we put together. You can't buy this book on Kickstarter or our website at all. You have to talk to us at the show. You come to the convention. We want to have a conversation with you. We want you to buy it. Don't get me wrong, but you're inundated with so many different things. What makes it special? So our thing is we kind of want to be personal. We want to have a conversation with you. We want to hang out. We want to, hey, I'm a comic book geek. Okay. I like comic books. I like to talk about comic books. I like to go see comic book movies. I like pop culture. I like to hang around people that do that. Most of those people are pretty nice, fun people. A lot of these people are very introverted and timid in some ways. I like to build that connection. So my thing is come talk to us. Come talk to us, and that's how you can buy something like that. And then we'll hang out with you and, have a good conversation. Maybe we have fellowship. Maybe we don't. Maybe we agree on stuff. Maybe we don't. That isn't the point of it. So,
Yeah, but by the way, I want to mention that there is data that shows the bigger you are on social media, the less your conversion rate. It's literally to the 0.5 and 1%. So if you
That's
have,
really low.
yeah, it is, and that's at Ask Chat. Obviously, it's with ChatGPT is the new Google, right? So how do you search? So I use Gemini, ChatGPT, and Grok, and I ask them a bunch of questions, and I go back and forth, right? Because they really are doing the search for you. It's the search. It's like Google 10x with AI, right? And they actually show when you have a less following, like 10,000, 5,000, or even 20,000, your conversion rate is much higher, close to 5% to some social media influencers,
Well,
which
see,
is a lot.
I would argue that some of those pages that are really bumped up, I question how they're bumped up sometimes, but sometimes, people are just adding. Doesn't mean they care about you. Doesn't mean there's a relationship. Doesn't mean they even know who you are or ever care about knowing who you are. And I think when you get sometimes the smaller groups, and if they're really into, this is a great one. I was on 21,000. Not one person reached out to me after that show. Not one. And you never know. And then, like I said, I'm on a show that hardly anybody is subscribed to. And almost not every one of them, but it was a significant number. They were like, "Hey, I caught you on such and such show. It was awesome."
Yeah, but don't forget, the other thing is people are not getting in social media. It's not about the actual viewers. The number of viewers is meaningless. What reality speaks is the amount of watch hours. And that's the thing. I want to see everybody's social media watch hours. Like on our Ishook channel, the main channel, we have about 128,000 subscribers, but we have over 10,000 hours worth of viewership. In 2024, we had about 7,000 hours. 7,000 hours is a lot of hours of watch time.
Yeah.
Like people don't get that. That's a lot. Did it convert? Maybe not, because maybe not all our subscribers are per se people who are shoppers or people who are gonna sponsors, but they might be people who just here to digest content, not necessarily buyers, right? Eventually, what we're trying to do is create an e-commerce. That's our future goal. Create like an e-commerce like shopping network on our channel where we do reviews, and we'll do more in-depth conversations in the actual stories of the comic industry, like your stories, your products, so on and so on. Like more of like a virtual kind of like a what do you call it, presentation, like you would do in a show, right? Something like that. But we have to be more hands-on. We would have to have some sort of a copy of the comic show and start analyzing sections of the comic that, of course, is approved with individuals like you. But yeah, this is, I think, what I personally think. If people want to get into the comic industry, how do we get them into the comic industry? And like me and Ben, we had a guy who was I don't want to mention his name, but he went crazy on me, like nonsensical crazy, Ben can tell you that story privately, but it was crazy with this guy, and he doesn't understand. He was like rebuking me as if I need some sort of initiation to the comic world. No, you want peoples like me who are interested to go to the comic world and produce comic, because then I can bring friends of mine into the comic industry and I give you more buyers, more followers, right? That's what you want. You want this collaborative social media happening, because how else are we going to get things done, right? That's my opinion.
I would agree with that opinion.
Awesome.
And I think it's the friend of the friend. Ben and I were just talking about a second ago about the artists and stuff like that. That's exactly the conversation we're having. You never know who's going to know who, and you just got to reach out, and it's the friend of the friend. So, comics, I think, is going through a tough time right now and a true transition. And it takes, I don't know how it's going to end up in 5 years. Comics change every 5, 6, 7 years, how comics is bought, sold, read. I think they're having a little bit of a harder time reaching the young generation. I'm going to say 18 and under right now. Whereas when I was young, everybody 18 and under were reading comics. So now they're having to fight with the guys. They get the comic book readers 24 and above, but those 18 and unders, they didn't get them as easy as like when I was under 18 or you guys that were under 18. So I think there's a lot going on, but I also think that's where quality comes in, knowing the friends, doing the social media, going to the conventions. You've got to build that up a lot more versus the kid walking down to the convenience store with a quarter trying to buy a comic book.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think you need to use more Instagram and social media. If you could become Instagram monetized, you just gave me a brilliant idea. Just by talking to you. Like, that's why I love doing these podcasts. I get so many ideas by just talking to individuals like you. Instagram, when you become social media like influencer and you get monetized with Instagram, they allow you to create a section, whereas you get posts and you pay for a membership for those posts. So comic writers, or if they are already monetized in Instagram, create a section where you have this reels and posts that only your members can see, and just upload your whole comic. Do a page a day and let them be a member to see your pages flow. And you could prevent them from obviously being downloaded. You can have that option, prevent from downloading. Just create reels that show the images of the comic moving. I mean, take your actual product, put on AI, make it real life, and make it move. Just to give us, the storyline, hook me in. Once you hook me in, then you say, okay, now buy the rest of the comic.
Well, so you just brought up something interesting. I put Ben on the spot here. There seems to be two schools of thought. The first school of thought is, I'm not going to send you a PDF of my comic and read because then you're not going to buy it. Then there's the other school of thought is, I'm going to send you my PDF because I want you to read it, because ultimately you're going to buy it anyway, because comic book fans, unlike other fans, like to hold things, collect things. They want to see the pretty cover. They want to hang it up. They want to CGC it. Comic book people are different than like other collectors. So there's two schools of thought. And so Brad, my partner, he doesn't like to send anything out. I send everything out. Now, I don't know if it helps me or hurts me, but I feel like the guy in Oregon, if he downloads my issue in PDF, so you're talking about doing a page a day, and that's great for building up suspense and stuff. But I don't know that I care if they get to download it or not, because I think if they really like it, they're going to buy the issue. If they didn't like it, I wouldn't have got them in the first place anyway. They would have needed more pulling in before they would ever paid for it.
I like what Image Comics does. Image Comics, just like a multitude of like streaming television things, they've got the first issue free, and you can read a PDF of it on our TV. We can watch the first episode of whatever show from whatever thing that you've got to pay for otherwise for free, because they think if you like it enough that it sells you on it, you're going to be like, I've got to buy the rest of these episodes to see what happens in the season. Same with books. I think that that's a good practice. On Image, you go there, and it's like, hey, free comics, and you they're not losing anything. You read them online. If you're really all about it, you can start buying them, and you're probably going to want that #1 issue too, just so you have like a set.
Yeah, we're collectors. We're completists. We want it all anyway.
Yeah, but
at least my generation.
Yeah, no, but you got to look at the Bible factor. I call it the Bible factor, right? Give Bibles away for free in order to people to get your story out there, right? So you want to have a following, at least for the first couple of issues, build the following, and then charge after, right? That's what I look at it. I mean, the story needs to be out there. I think there's so many good stories out there that I would love to read. Like, I give an example, the video game. I don't play video games anymore. It becomes very tedious for me to spend hours and hours and hours on one. And the only reason why I get hooked if I start is the role play, and it's like I'm watching the movie. I want to see the whole
what
movie.
Games did you play, Benny? I've never heard this conversation. What games did you play?
A long time ago, I played Metal Gear Solid. That was one of my favorite games.
All right.
Yeah,
Splinter Cell.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. So the point I'm trying to say is, like, the video games have good storylines, and they also actually I know they make comics of their video games as well, and digital comic version. So when you buy a video game, you get the digital comic version. But like, why not present the story as well in the public? So in their respect, they want you to play the game to know the story. But in the other respect, I think you should have the origin story, which is a prequel to your video game, in order for me to want to play the video game. You get it? Like it's a catch-22 that I think everybody's playing, and they're playing wrong. Like, get me the story. Like, there's so many stories out there that I would love to read and digest. Like, a comic is what takes you 10 minutes to read the comic, 15, 20 minutes to read the comic, and you get a beautiful story. Like, that's what, like, me as a person who's a reader. I'm a big reader, so.
I will say, and I agree with you, except there's one piece I'd add in there.
Sure.
Nowadays, there's so much noise with comics or with video games and stuff like that, you really have to attract people with the pretty picture. And that pretty picture, at least to make them stop for one moment to sit there and say, I need to look at this. Because if it's not the pretty picture, it could be the best story in the world. It really could. I've read, because I'll talk to people all the time, and they're like, oh, you're a creator, check my stuff out. And I'll read it and I'll cringe at looking at it, but I'm trying to be nice. And it's like, this is actually pretty good. I dig this. But we all are subjected to, that's a pretty picture, I'm going to look at that.
No doubt. And discoverability, which is what Ishook is all about, is making discoverability as easy as possible. Discoverability is always two factors, either by a book, like you said, the book cover, the picture cover, or by the recognized name, right? So either you become a recognized name, and then when you put your name on a book, I discover the book. Oh, I know that guy. I saw him on Joe Rogan. Oh, I saw him on this podcast. Oh, wow. Yeah, I know that. I'm going to buy his book just because of his name recognition, right? You have that with Jordan Peterson, Graham Hancock, and you have with a bunch of other people who are news anchors. All of a sudden, boom, because their name recognition is high. It doesn't matter what cover you put on it. His name is on it. He's promoting it. Oh, I want to see what he has to say because I watch him every day. I like what he says, right? But then you have the other ways, like, let me make a massive, beautiful book cover. Oh, the guy who created this book cover must be a genius. Let's see what it is about, and let's buy the book. So no doubt, I agree with you 100%. The book cover is essential in any book, obviously, and of course, comics. Comics, the cover has to be exemplary. Like, it's got to be like unbelievable, in my perspective. I mean, honestly, Ben, any feedback?
I'd mentioned how Joe Quesada is going to be at Nirvana Comics here this weekend. Thing that he did that was really notable is that he brought some big name people like Kevin Smith and whatnot to Marvel Comics, because that definitely can pull people in. If you look at the number one comic podcast right now today, it's Rob Liefeld, like head and shoulders, because people in comics have heard of him because he was one of the founding members of Image Comics and then something before that as well. So I mean, it's because of his name.
Yeah, he banked on his experience and his name and his success story, right? Mm-hmm. His career.
Yeah, actually, his podcast, you're exactly right. They built on the name, and of course, creating the Deadpool characters really set him apart. But ironically, I've listened to it, and he's pretty interesting too, which kind of shocked me, because I had this Rob Liefeld image of when I was a kid, and kind of he was punkish in some ways, not being insulting. That's just how his reputation was. But you can tell that he has this love for, and there's the enthusiasm and trying to make a connection with people. He has this love for comics. He's excited. He's like a little kid, and he's in his 40s, something like that. But he's like a little kid. And I think that's the other piece, because when we talk to people and they're very down or drunk, it's like, yeah, this is a good comic. You really should read it. It's like, so what? You want to see somebody
there's no passion. You want a person with passion. Right? You want a person who's passionate about it.
He's super enthused. A podcast thing that I find funny too, like talking on comic podcasts, is Mark Miller has to stop at the first of every one to make sure people can understand his accent.
By the way, you're saying exactly what Valuetainment PBD mentioned about Michelle Obama, right? Like, her numbers when she started her podcast, her numbers are disastrous to when she was actually the first lady. She was getting 20, 30 million views on YouTube. But then when she started her own podcast, she has that brand name, but there was no passion, there was no interest. So people were not watching it. Like, there was no relevancy. And so that's the key thing. If you have that relevancy, then obviously, especially in podcasts, that's very important. And honestly, she's a very interesting person. I don't know why she didn't get the numbers. So it's very hard to tell why. Certain times you can be a brand name and then the numbers don't come. Like, it's also unfortunate. Like what's going on? I think
that goes back to the relevancy, though. What you just said.
Yeah, the relevancy. Yeah, because she's not in the political arena anymore, so it's not really relevant anymore. Like,
and she's actually specifically taken herself out of it even more.
Exactly.
So it could be like a Rob Liefeld. You're like, oh yeah, I'd like to listen to Rob, but if Rob is all of a sudden doing a cooking show,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to do comics anymore. Well, I don't want to hear it. So
so that's the thing. You're right. So when you brand yourself a certain way, and then you want to try to do a different branding, you got to think twice. Like, how are you going to rebrand yourself? Because that's all we know you for. So it's very hard not to. That's why initially everybody asked me, Benny, why are you doing so many things in your podcasting? Because I want people to know I want people to know that I'm how do I say that right?
Versatile.
I'm versatile in every topic possible, right? My goal is for people to learn that my passion is learning. So I will do podcasts of every genre almost in order to learn. So that's my passion. I want to learn from people. I want to digest information. That's what I want people to know me for. Like my goal is to learn. Like and from learning, I'll reverb and I'll regurgitate the information and give it back to others. That's my whole shtick. So hopefully that will work. I don't know. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's a cool thing with the Kickstarter thing. I'm glad that you expressed to us. Like I always ask everybody how to do the Kickstarter, because we did it twice, we failed twice. Like honestly,
we're at 92%. So, and we still have 3 weeks to go. So I feel like we'll get the last 8%. And actually, we're doing a strategy that I'm doing, and we're going to see if it works. Is I'm purposely not ending our Kickstarter until the day after Heroes Con. We are going to Heroes Con in Charlotte. We're set up, got a big, beautiful booth. That book I showed you, we're going to release it there. Our whole thing is to talk to people, bring you into the booth, talk to you about the comic, and then say, hey, here's our Kickstarter. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 people that are coming through the doors. I don't know how many we can get to stop by the booth, but I feel like at 92%, can we get the last 8% on our last couple days there? I feel like we can. I feel like that's a good strategy. I feel like that's a good way of hitting it. So
how much is left in dollars and cents that you need for the last
$300?
$300?
$300. And we're that close. We are that close.
That's all.
$300.
Yeah.
$300.
We're done. Heroes Con is huge too, Benny. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'd actually told Rick and Brad, I said, hey, I'm going up to Heroes Con to walk around. They're like, we'll be there too. And I've heard a bunch of people say that there's a lot of known names that are going to be there. Not a bad drive for me here in East Tennessee at all. It's like totally comic stuff, because a lot of Comic Cons are like comics are pushed in the corner like the Weird Kid, and it's other stuff. It's comics. Dragon Con is everything. This is just full on comics.
That's a great point. A lot of they'll use the name Comic Cons, but there won't even hardly be any comics there. There might be some dollar issues and stuff like that. But I agree. The Baltimore show. I'm trying to think of the other one. They're more comics than anything else, which is creators in comics.
Is Greenville mainly comics, or is it different?
It's mainly comics, but Baltimore, I just think Heroes Con's the best. I think Baltimore is probably the second best. People have been telling me one out west. I'm trying to think of which one it was. Maybe, there's one in New York that everybody brags about, but I've not been to that one, so I don't know. It's not the Big Apple one; it's the other one. But
there's two. I thought there was one only in September, October.
There's one in December.
Oh, the one December. Yeah, the one December I don't hear much about, but I know it's pretty big. It's also pretty big. It's not that bad, actually.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, if I get you $300 by Sunday, can we get that original comic, the one that you always sell in the shows for me and Ben?
Well, when you say original comic, what do you mean?
Not original, meaning the one that you sell that only.
Oh my God! Shows. Of course you could.
All right, so me and Ben will get one. I'll cover the 300 by Sunday.
And here's the deal: I get
it's only $300. I get that one. Why not?
I get Les Garner to sign it. I get Jay Lee to sign it. I'll get Gus Mock to sign it. I'll get Matt Wilson to sign it. All guys will be at Charlotte, and I'll sign it if you want.
Definitely. So Sunday, I will be covering $300. My commitment. All right, but you got to get me one and one for Ben. All right, Ben, you send Ben your address.
We'll do it.
Yeah, with all the signatures. Yeah,
he already knows my address, I believe.
All right, good. I got to send you my address.
If you filled out the Google Doc, I have it.
Yeah, yes. I filled it out. Yeah, I was right on it.
So I'll send Ben my address and I'll send it to you. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So by Sunday, I'll cover it. Ben, remind me if you don't mind.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
so here's the thing. You do it, then I ask one favor. I'm going to send you an image of the comic. I won't give you the comic until after Heroes Con, so I can get all those signatures for you.
For sure.
I need you holding the image of the comic, so I can throw it up on our website and say the person that put us over.
Okay, yeah, just text me what to do. I mean, I'm not going to remember. Just text it to you. Ben will text it to you.
I'll send you.
Yeah, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Yeah, all right, awesome. Awesome. I love it. Listen, the reality is I think comic industry is the new age of creating movies in the future, right? Like a lot of the Netflixes, and I think that's what we need to do as Americans in general. We are losing the game with anime. Like we're losing the game big time. Like literally, I don't know why they like have anime about basketball. Like how the hell does that succeed?
They have
A
it about
basketball
20.
anime.
They've got it about everything.
Yeah, like
that market is, the manga stuff, the anime is amazing. But I think the big budget producers have finally figured it out. You just said it. It's like there is so much great property in comic books. And if you were to make a movie, I read this somewhere. If you were to make a movie a day, we're not talking about the normal production time. If you could just magically make a movie per day of all the characters that have been introduced in comics, okay, you would have a new movie every day for the next 24 years.
wow.
Now,
are we saying current comics, or are we saying all comics ever?
Saying all comics
all
of
comics.
characters.
Okay. All right.
And
Wow.
Image alone, and Image and Valiant, what they probably put out in the 90s, would take up several years. But you're starting to see Disney and everybody pick up on that, because then you start seeing these sideline characters that nobody knew or heard about. Echo and people like this, they're coming. They've become big. Echo didn't exist when I was a kid. They hadn't even gone through the comics and the characters I knew. So all of a sudden they see a big pop. And they see that they get their own show and they make a big introduction on the streaming platform or the new movie or whatever. I mean, think about the whole new what was the new Guardian? What was the movie that just came out with
I know Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. Thank you. That's the new Avengers. Not giving that away because everybody knows that now because of the posters and stuff. But you know what? Most of those characters did not exist, and those were not the original Thunderbolts as it was. So they have realized, these production studios is like, wow, we've got all these licenses in here. We can make movies every day. These characters already exist. Let's find somebody that connects with them, and let's make a TV show, a movie, a streaming platform, because then we can get books, plushies, action figures, all of that out of it.
I enjoyed that movie, by the way.
Love that. It's actually my favorite Marvel movie in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I really feel like, the toxic fandom, bad faith reviews. I think that there's people that they're just not going to watch something.
What are they complaining about?
Everything. If Disney or DC does something, it's like somebody wants to like attack them just because.
Yeah, because they're 0 for 12. They're like 0 for 20. I mean, like
I
they're
thought
like disastrous, bro.
I thought that was a real was a very enjoyable movie. I liked the Kraven the Hunter. I thought that was a nice movie for Sony. It wasn't something that it's like I want to see sequel after sequel of Kraven, but it was a good standalone movie, and it worked because you don't have to have Spider-Man for Kraven because he's a game trophy hunter and he hunts like whoever. And they did some creative things with it. I liked the chameleon. So I thought that was cool. I didn't think the Rhino CGI was as bad as people wanted to pretend like it was. I thought that the movie was fine. I want Sony to get up and do well. And I think that they would if they would do a Batman Beyond movie. Like I want them.
Are they doing the Batman Beyond movie?
Oh, no. That's a big thing. No, it's not happening.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was part of the projection.
People wanted them to do it. It blew up online, and it's like they pulled out, and it's like, nah, we're not going to give people this movie. They were going to fight Ink. I don't know if you even know.
I know Ink is, in the Batman Beyond movie. Yeah, but the Batman Beyond would have been a great movie. It would have been an awesome movie.
Terry McGinnis is awesome.
Yeah, but I think they're doing another Batman where the Batman is an older Batman. Who's that? And someone else is playing that. I forgot who's playing that.
Well, they just did the older Batman in what did we just see this in? Oh my gosh!
The Flash, they had an older.
Oh, then Flash.
Well, right.
That's not what you're talking. You're not talking about like the Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller, because that's the old man Batman.
No. What was it? Who was the person who was the Michael Keaton, right?
Yeah.
Michael Keaton.
So yeah,
my Batman.
I'm glad that they brought that. That's the Batman I grew up with.
That's right.
That was the real Batman. Everything else was just the knockoff. Honestly.
That's right.
Now I didn't grow up with Adam West. And as campy as he is, I still love Adam West Batman.
Yeah, I used to watch Adam West on TV where when I grew up, even though it was from the 50s, the 60s. 60s, yeah. I still watched that. It was a cool thing to watch. But again,
Yeah.
obviously, when you saw Adam West's Batman, and then all of a sudden you go to Keaton's Batman, like that's a
The
huge
real
difference.
Batman.
The real Batman,
real
yeah,
Batman,
the real
yeah.
Batman. That's a huge difference.
Because
Well-
Neil Adams had to fix that in the comics because they had made them a lot like Batman 66 and
Right.
had them like parodies of themselves, and he had to make it more pulpy again because that's what Batman is.
Yeah. By the way, the first two movies, Batman and Batman Returns, were the real movies that looked real. It looked like, wow, that's the Batman. The video games on Sega were the same. They were. It was like real, gothic. Like you felt it. You felt it. The other ones were like kind of comical with Val Kilmer, and then
Awful.
yeah.
But
Awful
you know,
until the
when you
Dark
go
Knight.
back
But he
to
still
that
was
movie,
but he still looked good as a Batman. I mean, honestly, but still,
Until
but
the
when
Dark
you go
Knight.
back to that movie, one of the things that made that so good, I always say it's kind of your supporting cast. Jack Nicholson as the Joker,
Mhm.
my gosh. Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale. You had Prince doing that whole soundtrack, giving it that dark goth feel with his
Yeah.
poppy electric. So my whole point is everything that went around that was just so awesome. And that Michael Keaton all of a sudden didn't have to. I thought he was great, but he didn't have to work as hard. So when he said, "I am Batman," you're like, "Yeah, you are." So
yeah.
People had a hard time with that though because he played comedy roles, and that, he's an actor, and he just stepped in and he did. I liked the newest Batman thing, even though there's a few minor issues I have with it, but overall I thought that it was the Batman I wanted. And one of my biggest pluses with it is they had the best Penguin ever, and then the Penguin series was awesome because
the Penguin series was. I agree.
Yeah.
He reminded me. Probably more so than anybody that's ever played the Penguin, he reminded me of the Penguin. And they did everything right with the limp and, just how he looked and his face. It was all perfect.
Yeah.
Also the personality, the persona.
Yeah, he did.
They did it true to the comic. They did it true to the comic, honestly.
Well,
I think
like Joker.
as close as possible.
Yeah, they've pulled out great Jokers through the time, like Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, my gosh, who really got into the role. But there probably has been good actors that have done some of the roles, but that Penguin, he just that was a perfect.
So who's the best Joker? Keith Ledger, Nicholson, or Joaquin Phoenix?
Well, why not Cesar Romero?
Wasn't.
Huh?
Cesar Romero was 66. Joaquin Phoenix technically wasn't the Joker. It's all alternate world stuff. I did like the first movie.
Well, it doesn't matter. He still played the character of a Joker.
I think Mark Hamill was the best Joker.
Went the cartoon route. That was a cop out.
I
will always think.
I'm talking real life. Like
I think Heath Ledger was the best Joker because I felt like he was crazy when he was playing that role. And there's nothing better that when he walks out of the hospital with that nurse's uniform on as a Joker, and he's hitting the button to blow up that hospital, and you see like who's going to blow up a hospital. Well, it takes a crazy man that's wearing a nurse's uniform, a dress, not a male nurse, a female nurse. And then, he's trying to hit the button. It doesn't go off. And he looks frustrated and then hits it again. It's like, that wins me over as a Joker.
In my opinion, I agree with you. In my opinion, the reason why I would agree with you is because you would have to play the Joker so well that it will affect your personal life. And obviously where his end demise is because he couldn't sleep at night properly because of this. The character that he became, so to speak.
I want to interject this. Cameron Monaghan, Gotham, the Joker. I liked him a lot. People said that he was like the real life, like Mark Hamill, that he took that into that. I thought that he did a good job on it. That series made some decisions that I did like. I like Victor Zsasz a lot anyway. And so they had him more of like a tough guy. I like what they did with the Scarecrow, how the dad was that way and he got it. I thought that there were a bunch of decisions. Is it Professor Pig? Is that his name?
I think so, yeah.
With the Y that stands for whatever the word is. And that's a dark villain. He's hacking people all up. I thought that there were some good decisions in that.
Not bad. Wow. Any questions, Ben? You have any questions for our good guest here?
I just wanted to say, because I want to shamelessly promote our guest here. They've got a lot of good stuff there. They've got some horror stuff that I saw there at that booth. and everything. You got Western horror, like werewolf Westerns. That's not too much of a spoiler. You can tell from the cover. There's some fantasy elements. You've got an Alice in, is it Alice in what? No, it's the Yellow Brick Road. Oz.
Oz,
Yes.
Nightmare in Emerald.
Yes. So I mean, there's a lot of neat things in there. So you got some fantasy elements, you've got some Western elements, and others. You got horror. They kind of do a dance with each other. All of those are strong categories, by the way. The horror thing has always been big in comics. I've always loved it, EC and what have you. Yeah, but I mean, Westerns, that's fantasy. They all have their own thing, especially when they correlate with each other really well. Rick, talk about some of those comics.
So, yeah, we have several coming out. You talked about Oz, the Nightmare in Emerald. That's a story I've wanted to do since I was a kid. Super excited about it. It's drastically different story. It is actually a horror story, not really for kids. The bad guys in this story are not the witches. The bad guys are the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion. And then you find out why they are such bad guys. The comic that you're getting is going to tell you why the Tin Man is a bad guy. But so it's a twist on it. Dorothy's not in Kansas. At the very end of the story, you find out where Dorothy really is. So excited about that. We've got something called GASP, Into the Woods. That's a little bit longer of a conversation, but GASP stands for Giant Anthology of Small Publishers. We originally did that several years ago, sold about 40,000 copies, did really well with it. So we're bringing it back, seeing how it does. But the first one I've got is, it starts out with me doing the story. Then I've got a person that has not been published before is doing the end of it. It is a horror story, and it's meant to be a horror story, hopefully coming out in October. We did just take over the title Brides. That is basically the Bride of Frankenstein hunting down the brides of Dracula in a horror story. Beautiful cover, beautiful art. That is now part of our catalog. Super excited about that. That's what Ben was just alluding to about seeing some really cool stuff. That announcement just happened over the weekend. Wow. Super excited about that. Got a Heap story or Raid, depending on how you look at it. We're working on the title. It's very much of a Swamp Thing, Man Thing kind of thing. That'll be coming out. Super excited about that as well. Working on that as we can. Have a little Alien story that I'm working on. Trying to get the right artist to work on it right now, but I already know who it's going to be. It's really fun. It's actually, Ben, you'll like this, set in East Tennessee. That's all I'm going to say to you.
That is awesome.
But maybe very close to where you live, by the way. There's some things I know about that area.
Oh yeah, Roane County. Yeah. They had it on Johnny Carson. I think it was. They said, if you ever want to kill somebody and get by with it, do it in Roane County, Tennessee.
The whole Stranger Things is based in Roane County, Tennessee. Yeah. So.
So why is Tennessee getting so much flack? It's the worst state in the country. I just
kidding. More people are moving here than I mean most other states, like from California and all that. And you'll know if you're in Knoxville traffic because they'll honk their horn, and people down south don't do that. That's like a northern thing.
Yeah, it's a New York thing. It's a New York thing. Come to New York, we're honking every minute.
But we will tell you you're number one if you keep honking at us.
Listen, New York is unbelievable. You got to come out here, guys. I'll take you out to dinner and lunch, whatever it is. It's awesome here. You'll enjoy a lot that goes on here. Listen, everybody's here. I'm literally.
I actually love upstate New York, and then of course my son's ran in New York City many times. He's a runner, and they have the national Nike indoor meet at the Armory. I don't know if you know exactly where that is, but
I don't know exactly. But I heard of it. I mean, if he's doing the marathons, you're obviously saying the New York Marathon.
No, not the marathons. This is the big indoor track. He's doing like the
that's
5Ks and things like that.
Okay, that's something else. Yeah. But I know Nike does do like all these companies do huge events in New York City. They're doing crazy stuff in New York City right now. New York City is probably the top invested state for movie making. Robert De Niro, $1 billion in Astoria, Queens. You have Netflix right off New Jersey. They're building a brand new studio, $980 million. Robert De Niro's is $1.2 billion, 1.2, 1.1 invested.
That's nothing. Come on, we can come up with that between the three of us.
Georgia has a ton of movies too, but
Georgia. But listen, you can't get out of Georgia the skyline of New York City or the streets of New York City. I mean, let's be clear. I mean, like Like
New York City appears probably, I would assume, skyline, some kind of backdrop, Statue of Liberty, Manhattan Island, something probably appears in a significant majority of movies. I would
yes,
assume.
it does for sure. And many of the FBI movies, the terrorist movies, like those movies, like Mission Impossible, and then the James Bond. But obviously, most of these movies are done overseas. But they originally were New York. There was New York, starting with New York. A lot of these things are New York, and it's not so bad. New York is like a 30% tax rebate, so it's pretty good. We're pretty good. You make a lot of money by doing it in New York.
I really like Buffalo because I like Niagara Falls so much.
Yeah, Buffalo has an extra 10% from Buffalo for tax incentives.
Okay.
Apparently, yeah.
And it smells so good because they've got that cereal plant, so the air is like Lucky Charms.
Yeah, but don't forget Long Island, which is Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. You smell the fresh ocean air. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what as much fresh New York can give of ocean air.
Yeah.
Of ocean smell.
You know that they've got a Toxic Avenger movie coming out, Benny?
I heard.
Now,
Yeah.
he's Jersey, but they've got a Toxic Avenger movie coming back out. The
What does that mean? Toxic? I don't get it.
He is like radioactive.
He's called the Toxic Avenger. Yeah.
He has a
Oh, he's the Toxic Avenger. Now, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, and so he
I heard they're bringing what's his name, the Iron Man back with what's his name?
He's Dr. Doom now.
But they're gonna make him Iron Man in a different alternate universe too, not just Doctor Doom.
I don't know nothing about.
And I heard that they're over budget. They're saying they spend $1 billion in this movie.
They've got the money. They've got the money.
Yeah, and they're gonna only make $1 billion. Like
yeah,
they're like something like that.
They've got the money. Hey, did you ever watch Endgame?
Yes, I think I did.
It was outstanding. My favorite.
I don't know. Listen, between you and me, if I'm a comic lover,
mm-hmm.
I want the movie to be equal to the comic. It cannot be more than 50% different. That's my opinion. Like, you give me another story, I'm not coming here to see your new story. I'm here to see the comic I read come to life. So like that's my issue with comics. Like, I'll be honest with you, I watched every X-Men movie, right? But I know for a fact that's not X-Men. I'm a big fan of X-Men. I know for a fact that's not how the X-Men, that's not the ending. That's not how it happened. Right? So like it doesn't. I don't like it. I just don't like that people's veer from the actual point of the comic and the lessons of a comic, which they had many lessons in comics, many ideas.
But they've readapted them so many times. I heard somebody talking about it either today or yesterday about Magneto. They said, how are we going to explain Magneto? Because what was it, in the 60s or the 70s is where they included that he was in the Holocaust and everything. And they're like, if we keep making these movies, people are going to be like, well, how old was he? Because it throws things up because they keep making them modern. So the one saying
they want to make a Magneto right now. The proposal is that to make him a black individual, right? Which I have no problem if you want to make Magneto.
Charles Xavier's brother, so Charles Xavier would have to be black then, right?
Well, they don't. I don't know. Is he Charles Xavier's brother?
Yeah.
That means Charles Xavier is Jewish. I don't get it.
And you can do alternate MCU and do whatever you want to.
Yeah, of course they do. We had this discussion, I think, with another with our other podcast.
What's her name? Cassandra, that's also Charles Xavier's twin sister.
Okay, but then it takes the whole point of the Magneto origin story. Like, with oppression, he gets into the the ability to awaken his Magneto, and then also the ideology. Like, his ideology comes from oppression and revenge, right? From hatred, from being like, I just don't get it. Like, the whole point of Magneto was that, okay, listen, they want to.
I've always sympathized for Magneto for the record. I'm just,
I'm just afraid. Is the comic industry?
He just wants to live on an island somewhere and be left alone and not hunted. That's all he wants, is to be left alone.
No, but you gotta understand, it makes sense now with Magneto why he would create what was the island that he creaed, and I forgot what it's called.
In Antarctica, what's the name of it?
Forgot what it was again. Where whatever he created a new place for haven for the
I know what you mean, yeah,
for the metahumans, right? And the metahuman. And that metahuman is very clear. The metahumans, that he's trying to create an oasis for them, like a statehood for them, like, so to speak. So it makes sense because he grew up in a place that he was obviously, I guess, where they wanted to kill him.
Genosha.
right? Genosha. So he's trying to create a safe haven from people who are oppressors like the Nazis. So if you take that component out, how are you Magneto? Like, what are you going to do? The same storyline? You have to create a brand new storyline for him. What makes him a Magneto now?
No, he's been hunted all of his life.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
But they do that for even they've done Spider-Man origin story in the movies 3 times, maybe 4 times, and they always change something around. I mean, like, for example, I'm the guy that likes, because it makes more sense to me, that if Spider-Man had those powers, he shoots the web from his wrist. That makes sense to me. I don't understand how this brainy kid in the other 3 origin stories creates little things on his wrist and he shoots them out.
Even though that's comic accurate.
Yeah,
right?
And then
he
look at
the comic, the web shooters.
And then you have like Uncle Ben giving him those, prophetic words of like, great power comes great responsibility. But then all of a sudden now the other movies, different people have given it to him. But Uncle Ben was so powerful because it wasn't really his uncle. He was trying to be his dad. They didn't have that connection. And that's why those words meant so much. Do they mean so much if Mary Jane gives them to him or somebody else gives them to him? I don't think so. So I get your point. I think it loses some of the power that we had, but I do know that they try to change everything to reach a new generation, a new group of people, or whatever. I think Magneto is a great example also because I think you could argue that his superpowers keeps him from aging. I think the bigger issue is nobody knows about that piece of history, the young people, so they don't have a clue when they're talking about that. So they have to make up some kind of other story to make it mean something to him. He was in TikTok prison or something like that. So,
yeah, but also it takes away the whole structure of what the Holocaust was. I mean, I think
absolutely,
they're trying to erase the whole Holocaust concept, and this is like another social story that you're just taking away that background story. And now we're never going to discuss the Holocaust. We'll never discuss World War II as if that point in history never happened.
Hellboy. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
anyway. So tomorrow Hellboy is not coming out of the Nazis creating. It'll be witches creating, a bunch of witches.
No, you don't have that issue with him because he's a demon, so he's not going to get so old and die. So that evades that.
Magneto can also live long. He has the magnetic power of he can reverse his aging. Why not? Why can't we say he reverses his aging?
I think it was Kevin Smith, by the way, that was being talked about it. But anyway, so the thing that they do a lot in comics, except for like the Phantom, because they have like your kid's just going to be the next Phantom. Kill one and the next one is that they want to keep them at the same age forever, and that's why you have that issue. If it was a horror comic, that wouldn't happen because horror comics kill people off all the time. But like, so let's say Ben Blankenship had full-on control of DC Comics. Where do Superman and Wonder Woman come from? Like the 30s. That's where they come from. Now, because she's the daughter of Zeus and he's Kryptonian, they would still be fine right now, but there's characters that are going to die just because of old age. Spider-Man, I have the DVD set in the 70s. I mean, I think Spider-Man works in the 60s and 70s, and and eventually, you'd have, is it Spider-Girl? They have a kid, Mary Jane wants it. God forbid they ever get back together, by the way. But that's what everybody and their cousin wants. But anyway, and I've heard that some of the argument is that we can't let them get back together because that wouldn't like correspond with our audience that grew up like reading it and are married with kids. So that makes no sense. But they don't do that. They don't have, hey, this I think it's cool, the Fantastic Four, that they're having them in the 60s, by the way, in their movie. But they don't have people at like a time stamp overall, because then you have to kill them. So let's just say in Ben Blankenship's world again that you've got that going on in comics. Okay, so Bruce Wayne right now would be dead. So you've either got Terry McGinnis or you've got Damian Wayne, or you've got Dick Grayson that would be like Batman now, and Bruce Wayne basically would have just passed the mantle on. But they don't do that, which is why they've got to mess with their history and their origins, because they don't have certain points of time that are like markers of this and that happened.
I think Dick Grayson would be dead too by now.
Yeah. Depending on when, he might be old man Dick Grayson, so he,
I think it's nonsensical in the sense that we have to worry about the age. It's a story. You present the story. None of these stories that are always prequels or sequels are continuous ever. They never follow a chronology. It's always another adaptation by another director. In my opinion, I don't think they should, well, who cares? What, like, but for sure, we shouldn't tell the origin story a dozen times. That's for sure. That's just nonsense.
We were just talking about Batman earlier. Batman has had 4, 5 origin stories now in the movies. I mean, they've changed it each time.
Yeah, for sure.
And everybody knows it, but they work it into the comics constantly too. It's like, let's show him and his dead mother again for no reason.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're going to have to close it today. Thank you, Mr. Rick Motion, for coming, and Ben Blankenship. You can go to his company, Resolute Bliss, QR code right here. And then you have his Kickstarter right here. This is the QR code, as you can see. You have Ben here with his Amazon account right here. You can see all his great products, especially our own comic, Super Black. A few announcements are coming very soon in that. Here's Ben's X account, x.com. Anyone can QR code that. We had a great conversation here, honestly. It's awesome. We got to do this again. And Ben, just remind me Sunday.
I will.
Yeah, I'm going to close this gap.
You owe him the money. You're being held.
Help me.
This is being pre-recorded, by the way. It's live on Thursday, but you've got this weekend.
Yeah. It's gonna be released.
Yeah, I only explained this because he has a show on Thursday. So
okay, that's fine. Yeah, so he'll be like, "What? He's live in 2 places." Yeah, that's the new technology. We could be live in 2 places.
Yes.
Well, that's our alternate universe. That's our multi-universe. He's doing different genres in the other universe, right? Different genres of comics. Anyway, guys, much respect. I love this conversation.
This isn't really Rick. This is a scroll.
Hey, you weren't supposed to give that away.
Oh yeah, well, another spoiler alert as usual. Anyway, listen, I love it. You guys are awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. Like, it's always a pleasure. We want to have more of these shows, and I think one day we're going to start doing maybe an event, like a crypto comic podcasting event, like something like where people can all come in one and kind of feed off each other, because ultimately all these things that we're doing, like if you're doing comics, you're doing podcasting, you're getting into production, you're getting into, like, we got to create like one-stop shop where we can all learn from each other and actually build from what we need to build. Hopefully we're going to create that event in the coming future. We want to really make that happen and have that coming out every year. All right, guys, thank you for coming to Ishook.
Thank you very much.
Comics here, brother. May God bless.